I never expected Sophie to look at Luke the way she did, with that strange, lingering smile that made my stomach twist. Last night, while I was asleep, I found a message on my phone from her account that simply said, "I can't help how I feel about him." My heart raced, and my hands shook as I read it over and over. I wanted to confront her immediately, but the words hung in the air like a shadow, and I realized I had no idea how long this had been going on. Luke had no idea, and Sophie had been smiling to my face for weeks, pretending everything was fine. How could someone I trusted betray me so quietly, so deliberately? I started replaying the last few weeks in my head, searching for any sign that Sophie felt this way about Luke, and suddenly everything seemed suspicious. The way she would laugh a little too loudly when Luke made a joke, or how she always seemed to accidentally linger near us when we were out. I even remembered one night when I thought she had just been tired, but now I saw it differently. Her hand brushing against his in a crowded cafe, and the way her eyes followed him like he was hers. My chest tightened with fear and confusion. Could I have been so blind all this time? And if she really felt this way, had she already done something I didn't know about? My mind spun with questions that had no answers, and the thought of Luke being caught in the middle made me dizzy. I decided to pretend nothing had happened and watch Sophie closely, even though it felt like stepping on a thin ice sheet that could crack at any moment. Every time Luke left the room, her eyes followed him like a predator tracking its prey. I noticed little things I had ignored before, the way she left little notes on his side of the kitchen, or how she would borrow his things and return them with a casual smile. I started keeping my phone close, my mind alert for messages. But the more I observed, the more I realized this was deeper than just a crush. It was an obsession. That night, I stayed awake, heart pounding, wondering if the next morning would reveal something I was not ready to see. I woke up to a ping on my phone, expecting a normal text, but it was from Luke saying he had a weird feeling Sophie was acting strangely. My heart leapt and sank at the same time. He didn't know what, but he sensed something was off. I hesitated. Should I tell him everything I had discovered? My thumb hovered over the keyboard. Before I could reply, another message arrived, this time from Sophie. "You don't need to worry about me. I can handle things myself." My stomach sank. Her words sounded harmless, but the tone, I knew it was a warning. Sophie invited us both to dinner at a small, quiet restaurant downtown, claiming it was to celebrate Luke's promotion. I felt uneasy, but agreed, hoping to keep things normal. The restaurant was dimly lit, the aroma of roasted meat and baked bread filling the air. Sophie laughed at all of Luke's jokes, touching his arm occasionally. I felt invisible and angry, but I kept smiling. My heart thumped in my chest as I realized I couldn't stop watching her every move, fearing she might cross a line right there. Later that evening, Luke walked me home, leaving Sophie behind. I tried to shake off the tension, but my mind raced. Did Sophie follow us? Did she already know something? Luke held my hand, completely unaware of the storm brewing inside my head. I wanted to tell him everything, but fear held my tongue. That night, I lay awake, imagining Sophie's face twisted in secret plans, plotting behind my back. The next morning, my phone buzzed. Sophie's name appeared, but it wasn't meant for me. I saw a message preview she hadn't deleted. "He's mine now, and she'll never see it coming." My fingers froze. I felt like the ground had dropped beneath me. I wanted to scream, confront her, anything, but I had to play it cool. I didn't want to scare her off or push Luke into danger. The words replayed in my head all day, and I realized I could no longer ignore the truth. I started noticing little things I had never seen before. Sophie's perfume lingering around Luke's desk, small gifts that appeared out of nowhere, and subtle compliments that only he seemed to hear. Each day my anxiety grew, and I began keeping a journal to track everything. I felt trapped in my own home, like a stranger watching someone invade my life bit by bit. Every time Luke mentioned her, my chest tightened. I could no longer pretend this was just a crush. Finally, I decided I needed answers. I waited for Sophie to be alone, heart hammering, and asked her directly, "Do you have feelings for Luke?" She smiled faintly, tilting her head, her eyes unreadable. "Maybe," she whispered, "but it's complicated." My throat tightened. Complicated? That wasn't a simple crush, that was a plan. I wanted to back away, but I couldn't. I needed to know everything she was planning. That evening, I found a note slipped under my door. "Meet me at the park at 10 p.m., alone." It was from Sophie. My hands shook. Was this a trap or a confession? I debated calling Luke, but something told me this was my fight alone. I walked through the quiet English streets, shadows stretching in the lamplight. My heart pounded, each step echoing like a drumbeat. When I arrived, Sophie was there, her smile calm, almost victorious, as if she had been expecting me. Sophie looked at me calmly under the dim street lamp, her eyes cold yet playful. "I didn't mean for you to find out like this," she said, twisting a strand of her hair. My stomach churned. "Then tell me the truth. What are you doing?" I demanded. She hesitated, then smiled. "I like him. I can't help it. And maybe he likes me too." My heart stopped. Could she be serious? Or was this just a game to scare me? I realized I had to stay alert. Whatever was coming next, I had no idea. I returned home shaking, trying to act normal when Luke asked how my night was. I nodded, but my mind was spinning. I couldn't tell him everything, not yet. Sophie had already shown she was clever, careful. I felt trapped between fear and anger, unsure if Luke could ever trust either of us. My hands trembled as I sipped tea, pretending nothing had happened, but I couldn't stop thinking, was this just the start of something worse? Later that day, a message from Luke popped up. "I think Sophie likes me. Are you sure?" My heart raced. How did he figure it out? Should I tell him the truth or wait to catch Sophie in the act? Panic and anger mixed inside me, making it hard to breathe. I stared at the screen for what felt like hours. Every choice seemed dangerous. If I told him now, Sophie might retaliate. If I stayed silent, things could get worse. I realized I couldn't wait any longer. I had to find out exactly what Sophie was planning. I started following her subtly, taking notes of her movements, the messages she sent, the people she met. Every tiny detail mattered. I felt like a detective in my own life, trying to catch a friend who had turned into a threat. Each day added more evidence, but it also made me realize just how deeply she had inserted herself into our lives. One evening, I caught Sophie whispering on the phone, her voice low and urgent. I couldn't hear everything, but she mentioned Luke's name. My stomach dropped. Was she planning to meet him alone? I didn't know whether to confront her or warn him. My mind raced with possibilities, each worse than the last. That night, I barely slept, imagining the worst. Every sound from the living room made me jump. The next day, I ran into Sophie unexpectedly at the supermarket. She smiled too brightly, holding a bouquet of flowers. "Just for Luke," she said casually. My stomach twisted. Did he know? Did she plan to give them to him? I had to act fast, but any wrong word could ruin everything. I left quickly, heart pounding, trying to figure out my next move. The tension between us had become unbearable. Later that night, I overheard Sophie talking to a friend in hushed tones. "He doesn't know yet, but soon." My blood ran cold. I realized she had been planning this for weeks, maybe months. I had to tell Luke, but how could I prove anything without sounding paranoid? Fear and determination clashed inside me. I needed a plan, fast, before Sophie acted on her intentions. I confided in my neighbor, Mrs. Harlow, a kind older woman who always seemed to notice things others missed. She agreed to help me watch Sophie discreetly. Knowing I wasn't alone gave me some relief, though the tension still pressed down on me. We devised a plan to record any suspicious behavior without tipping Sophie off. The thought of catching her in the act made my heart race with a mix of fear and hope. One night, I followed Sophie to a quiet street, keeping my distance. She looked around carefully and then checked her phone before walking quickly toward a small cafe. My heart raced. What was she planning? I hesitated at the corner, watching her enter, unsure whether to go in or wait. Every second felt like a countdown to disaster. Something was about to happen, and I couldn't stop it. Inside the cafe, I saw Sophie sitting across from Luke, leaning closer than friends should. She laughed softly, touching his hand lightly. My stomach dropped. I quickly pulled out my phone to take a photo, documenting the moment. Suddenly, Luke looked at me. He had seen me through the window. Panic flooded my body. Had he realized everything already? I froze, knowing the next moments could change everything. Luke walked into the cafe cautiously, eyes darting between Sophie and me. His smile faltered as he saw my tense face. "Emma, what's happening?" I didn't know how to explain without making it sound like a crazy accusation. Sophie's lips curved in that calm, knowing smile, like she had rehearsed this moment. My heart pounded, realizing I was trapped between them both. The air felt heavy with secrets and danger. I barged into the cafe, my hands shaking. "Sophie, what are you doing?" I demanded. Sophie's eyes widened slightly, then narrowed. "I told you it was complicated," she said softly. Luke looked between us, shocked. The small cafe felt like a battlefield. My voice trembled as I explained everything I had seen, every note, every touch, every secret message. Sophie didn't deny a thing. Instead, she leaned back, calm, almost proud. Sophie leaned forward, her voice low and cold. "Yes, I like him. And yes, I tried to act on it." My chest ached. How could someone I trusted betray me so openly? Luke's face went pale, unsure what to do. I felt rage, sadness, and fear collide all at once. This was real. She had no intention of stopping, and the betrayal cut deep. Luke looked at both of us, his hands trembling. I need time to think," he said quietly. My stomach dropped. Would he choose her over me? Or was this a wake-up call for him to see Sophie's true nature? Sophie's smile faded slightly, realizing she hadn't expected him to hesitate. I tried to breathe, knowing the next minutes could change everything in our lives forever. I decided I couldn't stay in the cafe any longer. My hands shook as I grabbed my coat. Sophie didn't stop me. She only smirked, like she had won some invisible game. I walked out into the cold English night, heart pounding, unsure where to go. Luke followed me a few steps behind, still quiet, still unsure. I realized this night wasn't over yet, not by a long shot. Back at our apartment, I poured everything out to Luke. The messages, the notes, Sophie's behavior. He listened quietly, eyes wide. When I finished, he hugged me tightly, whispering that he didn't know what Sophie was planning and that he loved me. Relief mixed with fear. Sophie's betrayal was real, but Luke's loyalty gave me hope. I realized we needed a plan to protect our relationship. The next day, Sophie sent a message. I won't stop until he notices me. Step aside or things get messy. My heart sank. She wasn't done. I knew confrontation alone wouldn't stop her. I had to act smart, gather proof, and make sure Luke stayed safe. Fear and determination filled me. Sophie's obsession had reached a dangerous level. Luke and I decided to set a trap, a controlled way to expose Sophie's intentions without putting ourselves at risk. We arranged a meeting under the pretense of friendship, recording every interaction. My heart pounded as we prepared, knowing the next few hours would reveal the full truth. Sophie's cleverness was dangerous, but we were ready. Sophie arrived, smiling, unaware we had prepared everything. We let her talk, recorded every word. When she leaned in to touch Luke, we stopped her gently but firmly. Her expression changed from confidence to shock. "You tricked me," she whispered. I realized that the Sophie I had known had vanished, replaced by someone consumed by obsession. Luke held my hand tightly, and I knew we had survived the worst. After everything, Luke and I rebuilt trust slowly, moving past the fear and betrayal. Sophie moved out shortly after, leaving only memories of her manipulation. Life returned to a fragile normal, but I remained vigilant, knowing some scars never fully disappear. Yet, the love and trust between Luke and me had grown stronger, tempered by fire. For the first time in weeks, I felt a cautious peace, ready to face the future together.